Hey, you playa, did you know you have a better chance of entering in a relationship with someone that starts out as your friend compared to someone that you met randomly on the street, at a bar, or somewhere else? It's crazy to think that, but one research study showed that 68% of romantic relationships started out as friendships. So let's dive into that research a little bit more to understand how you can have a better chance of dating someone you're friends with. When it comes to understanding intimacy, there's generally two types that are discussed: friendship-based and passion-based. Friendship-based intimacy highlights the caring, compassionate, and nurturing parts of a relationship that allows people to form those long-term bonds, whereas passion-based intimacy really highlights the arousal, the attraction, the sexual desire that brings those two people together. And the reason I share that fairly obvious distinction is that most of the research that has been done since the 1950s on dating and relationships tends to focus primarily on passion-based intimacy, largely negating the fact that a lot of people meet as friends before they actually start dating. Not only does it tend to feed into this narrative that people meet as complete strangers, form instant attraction, and start dating from there, but it feeds into the heterosexist archetype that men are always supposed to be bold, make their moves, and pronounce their affection for women, while women kind of stay back, make themselves more attractive, and wait for men to make the move. That's not how a lot of relationships actually begin. Granted, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be bold, courageous, and confident when it comes to approaching someone that you like. That's advice I give to anyone, guy or girl, who likes someone and wants to start dating them. It also doesn't mean you should sit back and wait for that person to approach you, hoping that they're going to make the first move. If you like someone, you should be the one taking that proactive step. But let's dive into the research to really understand why friendships tend to be the first starting point for most relationships. This figure of 60% of romantic relationships starting from friendships is based on self-reported data across 7 different studies interviewing 1,897 people, asking them, what was your relationship like with your partner before you started dating? And while nearly 30% of participants said they intentionally became friends with a past partner because one of them was attracted to the other, the majority of people started out as friends and developed their romantic attraction as they got to know each other better. Not to mention, this meta-analysis also gives us a breakdown of the best and worst ways to initiate a romance with someone. Just look at this list right here. At the very top, a friendship turning romantic, followed by that through mutual friends. But take a close look at the bottom 2 there. Number 10 is through an online dating service, and number 11 is on a blind date, which means meeting people randomly is not people's preferred ways of starting a romantic attraction, nor is it actually the most effective. Now, what this study does point out is that the numbers may vary depending on the type of relationship you're in, straight, gay, bi, or whatever. What we can clearly see though is that friendships tend to be the starting point that most people prefer, and it's pretty much a no-brainer as to why. When you form a friendship with someone first, you get to see beyond the facade. You get to see the deepness of who they are as a person. And if you can grow to really like that person and feel a deep connection with them, you're going to potentially have a happier and healthy relationship overall. And that isn't to discredit instant attraction and bonds that you can form with a complete stranger for the very first time. I'm not saying don't approach people in bars or school or wherever it is that you're thinking about approaching someone that you find attractive. I think it can be an effective method. However, there's a method that tends to be more effective, and that's being a friend first. And you might be thinking, okay, I'll be friends with them, but how long do I have to be friends before it could potentially lead to something romantic? Well, looking at this study, we can see that people were friends for nearly 2 years before it led to an actual relationship. That's right, 21.9 months was the average, which seems like a long time to get to know someone. But there's a little secret I want to let you in on that's going to make that time go by so much faster. Don't just do this with one person. Form lots of different friendships. Get to know lots of different people that you're interested in. That's how you're going to start to weed out the ones that you form lesser connections with and continue to spend more time with the people that you're actually deepening your attraction to. And one little disclaimer I feel like I need to throw in there is that if you're someone that's in the friend zone or has been rejected by someone that you like, this advice isn't necessarily going to apply to you specifically. You see, you're going to need to take a different approach if you want to potentially win that person over. In fact, I'm going to link up a video over there on the screen now. It's going to help walk you through how to get out of the friend zone, how to change that person's perspective of you, and how to grow as a person. Check out that video, and I'll catch you guys next time. As always, love and peace.